This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
This is the Rules and Government Relations Committee meeting for February 12th. Fencing a little late for the recording, but here we are.
So we calling to order at 5:52.
Yep.
Okay.
We don't have any minutes from the past meeting, as I recall.
We don't have. Let me double check. I should have double checked it before tonight, but I don't believe we have any minutes to approve at this point. So fresh start for 2026.
All right, good. Public speak.
No public speak.
The public would like to speak. There's nobody here.
All right. Moving on.
All right. Ad hoc committees. Guess what? Councillor J.Mark McQuaid had said that he'd like to hold that discussion.
Okay, so we'll hold that.
Till the time that he could be there.
Right. I know he wanted to come. So
Yeah, he had wanted to come and he was unable to make this meeting. So he won't be there.
And just to clarify, this is what came up in our council meeting from last week that he submitted, or
This is what he submitted at the last.
I thought what he submitted, just to clarify, I thought he had submitted the resolution on the housing crisis task force.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is the ad hoc,
committees was introduced by Councillor Denham
from last council?
from the last
Okay.
meeting. Also, both were introduced, and that seemed pretty straightforward. When you look at the rules, the current rules, it looked to me like there was only an addition. Do you have a copy, right?
I'm pulling it up right now. I should have probably done that while I was waiting, but I didn't think we'd have this meeting. Let me just pull it up.
Oh, I see you texted. Thank you.
Okay, I have it in front of me. So this is a council rules amendment to amend Rule 11A. Again, just for the purpose of the recording and for a meeting tonight. So the summary of the proposal is to amend that particular rule with the following language stated: the president of the council, with the approval of the council, may designate ad hoc committees as is deemed necessary. All appointments made by the president should be approved by council through the appointments process.
I was just going to the rules online, 11A, and the current reading says the president of the council, with the approval of the council, may designate.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't catch it.
The president of the council, with the approval of the council, may designate ad hoc committees as deemed necessary. The additional language just is
Clarifies it a little bit further.
add that the parties are subject to the
Appointments process, which I think makes a lot of sense. We've discussed this at the council level. I'm personally in agreement for it. I think it clarifies a slightly confusing process.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think we can return that with a favorable vote. So I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the language as submitted by Councillor Denham.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. We make the recommendation to the full council. The water operator retirement club reclassification issue. That was something that was brought up quite a while ago. It's still in the legislature, but I haven't heard anything about it at all in terms of any of the specifics. And I haven't heard, I felt uncomfortable voting on something that required such technical expertise to be able to, because it sounds like the legislature is actually struggling with whether or not to reclassify these people who are working in the water department as a class of employees that would receive their retirement, I think, I think it was 5 years earlier.
Yes. Yeah. And I had submitted this, I don't even know when, it feels like
It
a
was a long
lifetime
time
ago,
ago, yeah.
with Counselor Denham, I think last summer. And I still think it's an important, in my opinion, it's important, proposal. If I'm okay with holding on it because it's still being worked through at the legislative, standpoint at this time. I mean, I guess it's one of those things where we could say, we want to provide our support, so that might help at that level, at the state level. We could wait on that. I don't know if I have super strong feelings one way or another, but.
All right. I haven't heard anything from anybody about this issue, from anyone locally, from any of the water operators. I think that would be helpful if they would weigh in with any reasoning behind it. I think folks were trying to understand the economic impact it would have on the retirement system. That's where it was being held in the legislature. And yeah, so I think that's where it is. So I'm happy to leave it on the agenda.
Yeah, let's leave it on for now. What I can do is I'll take the lead to follow up, and maybe I can do some digging to see if I can find some more information around possible impacts and where it is at this point, and in the process at the state level, and see if that might help us make a more informed decision.
That would be helpful. I think that makes sense. I'm going to skip an agenda item and go to Rule 11A, meeting agenda, and rule for the final meeting minutes. This is where we were going to reorder the minutes.
Yes. So this is basically putting into the rules templates for meeting agendas and, right? Is that right?
It's for committee minutes, I know. Section had to do with 11A meeting minutes template. The template and final and approved minutes of all committee meetings shall be sent to the city clerk for public availability within 30 days from the date of the meeting. So the template, I think there was a proposed template.
Yes. So the idea is basically just standardizing both agendas and then minutes. So that way all the subcommittees use the same general format. I mean, I'm in favor, but I'm one of the people who put this forward. So, I'm obviously
to have a format and a method and a way makes some sense. I guess if we're going to use this format, I would add to the date and the time of the meetings. That's not on the.
So it has date. Do you want to add in time?
Yeah, I would add
well?
in time. The time the meeting was scheduled and when it opened.
Okay, because we do a call to order, which I think covers when it technically opens.
Up, and then I didn't have any additional information here after new business. So adjourning time would be the only technical additions I would think would be needed. Otherwise,
so there's on the back. So there's action items, other notes, adjournment, next meeting.
Great. All right, because I'm getting there. We're missing something here. All right.
I was like, I'm pretty sure we put in the rest of it.
Next meeting. Yeah. There usually is a vote to close it, so that adjournment should.
So are you proposing we add a vote
into? The recording of that. Otherwise somebody comes, well, we never adjourned that meeting, or we did, or we adjourned that. Just to keep the format clear.
All right, I'm happy to propose.
I like having the committee clerk to know that.
Is that not in there?
It is in there.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that always should be. Sometimes you don't know.
Sometimes it changes.
Who wrote the 9 minutes? So that can be helpful.
Okay, so I would like to then, I guess, I'll make a motion to add in the vote, a line item for a vote to the adjournment.
And to move along to council.
I'm sorry.
And to move along to council, what are you going to say? Or did you think?
Well, I was just talking first about the vote for adjournment.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, and then can you clarify what you meant by a move along council?
Recommend we put this into the rules.
Yes. Yes, I can do that all as one motion.
In one
Yes.
motion.
No, thank you. It took me a minute.
Yeah. Sorry, I just was thinking we'd save steps here.
Before I finish that motion,
Sure.
I feel comfortable not having a separate scheduled time for the minutes because I think that's covered in the agenda, plus the call to order time. But
Location, date.
did you want
I
to?
don't particularly the opening of the meeting time that it opens.
Yes, I think that's covered in the call to order.
Call to order. That the term doesn't mean, it doesn't mean the same. Call to order. Okay. So that, fine. If they call to order, it would be indicating what time they opened up.
I mean, what we could do is we could amend that line item to put in a clarifying like parentheses saying, you know, time meeting call to order.
Yeah.
Or time meeting opens, I guess, because it already says call to order.
Meeting opens, yeah.
Okay. So let me put this all together. So I'm going to make a motion to edit the call to order line item to include, and I'm just going to write and say this at the same time. So to include per open parentheses, time meeting opens, close parentheses as the text.
Yep.
Okay. Also to edit the adjournment line item to add in a vote line after that. So that'll be in the back of the page.
Right.
And then with those two edits, move the meeting minute template forward to council.
Sure.
So that's my motion.
Second.
Okay, great.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next was the code of conduct.
Wait, so that was just for the meeting minutes.
For the meeting
are
minutes,
you
for
good with the agenda?
Okay. Could you refresh me?
Yeah, so the agenda, it's very similar. It's the same kind of idea. It's just a template. It might be on the back side of that page. It's just a template so that we standardize.
Back side of the page. Saving paper, which is great.
Saving paper, not our brains.
Yeah.
So again, in the same spirit, standardizing the agenda format that every subcommittee uses so that we have all the same information. This includes all the basics, location, time, you know, list of topics, et cetera, but just have it all be standardized.
Yep. I think that covers what we normally do.
Yeah, so there's nothing, I don't think there's anything dramatically different. Actually,
putting in the link. Where do we have that?
So, good point. So we could add in a box for Google Meet link, and then one other item which I forgot, but I need to suggest, or I'd like to suggest as an edit / amendment, is adding in mayor speak to both the agenda and if you have the, if you don't mind, if I can just take this. I know mayor communications is working there. So adding in mayor communications into the agenda as a evergreen agenda item.
I'm thinking about that for a minute. So I'm just wondering if that automatically includes the mayor, it invites the mayor to come speak to the meeting or not. And is that what we want for our council?
Yeah, I know.
It's typical, it's good policy. I think it makes sense. I'm just wondering if we formalize it that way, if we've, and the other thing is, here's the agenda item for public speak. Sometimes you get to a meeting and you've had 6 meetings about the same subject and you've met over and over and you had, 10, 20, 30 people at each one. Everybody said their say, they've doubled their say, they've tripled their say 3 times. What I'm trying to say is they've 3 times said the same thing. You might need to have a meeting that doesn't include public speak. To have a working meeting that, okay, this time, we need to get together and have a time to meet to do what at the school committee level is called a working meeting.
Right.
How do we feel about that? Do we want to formalize it by putting it in as public speak at every meeting, regardless, and which would preclude?
Well, I guess a couple thoughts. So I think first, I think it depends on it.
I'm not advocating either way.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think the question in my mind is, are even working meetings open?
They're open to the public. Public can come to the meeting. They can sit, they can observe, they can watch the entire process. But at some point, you're saying
we have to work.
We have to work.
Right.
And typically we get we have enough time to be able to say, okay, open public speak. Folks come and they speak. And it could go, sometimes you fill the room and public speak takes 2 hours. And even on the subcommittee level, and sometimes some committees say, hey, look, the first 30 minutes is for public speak. And I see we're not doing that here. And it's up to, well, public speak, each person 2 minutes up to a total of 10, pro or opposed to or about another topic. What I'm trying to say, there are different variables. So you might not want, I don't know.
Good points. Yeah, I think in my mind, there's a couple ways we could approach it. So one way would be to be very prescriptive and to outline every last possibility where we add in all this information and everything. I think this is intended to be a starting point. So I like the idea that we have public speak in the template.
I love public speak.
And I think public speak obviously is very important, but theoretically, and then in actuality, every subcommittee chair will have the opportunity to edit this. This is a starting point. So they can edit this to meet their needs.
Is the rule written that way? Is the proposal written that this is a suggested format?
That's
as opposed to something that is a requirement.
I don't recall off the top of my head, to be very honest.
Oh, that's fine. That's why we're here talking about it, because we got to look it up.
So I can, let's look that up because I don't recall.
Because I'm comfortable with it as a suggested format. That's fine. I just, I think it's fine with the suggested format.
Find the end. All right, just working my way into it.
Sure.
Almost there.
I was reading with a few other. The silence on the screen might be a little
exciting for whoever's watching this. Just fast forward a little bit. Almost there. Just pulling it up. Okay. So what we put in was we're proposing to amend Rule 11L, which is filing of committee minutes, and that's just around timing. And then we were also adding to Rule 11L the meeting minutes template and include a meeting agenda. So the way Rule 11L is written right now, it's titled Filing of Committee Minutes, and then the text of the rule says final and approved minutes of all committee meetings shall be sent to the city clerk for public availability within 3 meetings from the date of the meeting for which the minutes are documented. So we've already talked about amending that language, but that's it. So there's nothing else that's in the language around these are suggested. So what we could do is we could amend or propose an amendment to Rule 11L further, which is a line that could say something like these are suggested templates, or these are templates for use by subcommittees, chairs at their discretion, or some kind of language around that to add into Rule 11L. But the rules amendment does not cover any other additional language beyond what we've already talked about.
I certainly think it would be helpful to say suggested format or suggested template.
Okay, so
Or, yeah.
we could, let me just pull out this language so we have it. So we could say,
for use by committee chairs, right? I like the way you had said.
I don't remember.
We're all the tape back.
So actually, before I even go into a language,
Okay,
in
time
the
out.
question, so in the way the rules are laid out, these are basically, these templates will be, like, are they, like, do they go in the body of the rule, or are they at the, are they at the end of the rules, or are they like, would it read rule?
I hear what you're saying. I was saying it as the body of the rules.
Yeah.
But, to have an asterisk or something and put it down the bottom of the rules would make sense, or stylistically.
Well, okay, so actually now that I'm digging into the rules further. So if we look at, just for comparison's sake, if we look at Rule 5C,
We put it in.
which is the instruction, it just is in the rule itself.
And put it in. And that doesn't
says,
necessarily have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way. And I will say, like, I mean, it is what it is, but it basically says all drafts must be submitted using the following form, and then it just has it in there. So we could follow the same format and say, whatever it is, pull up 11L again. Minutes of, subcommittee or committee minutes and agenda should follow the following suggested forms or suggested templates.
May follow. It's good.
I would say if we say may, then we can just say may follow the following templates, or we could say should follow the following suggested.
Should following suggested implies this is the way you do it to me. That's the way I read it, and I would take it.
Let me write this up so I can see it too.
Sure.
All right, so committee meeting minutes and committee meeting agendas may follow the following
Suggested formats. It's really more of an aid to people as opposed to, so they're not creating or inventing the wheel, as opposed to a requirement. This is the only way to do things. This is how it's done.
Yeah, I guess I think because we're gonna, if we say, and I know we're getting a little pedantic here, but
We are, but that's our job.
point of this committee. So if we say may follow the following suggested formats,
Double.
it's sort of a double suggested. So that's kind of why I was thinking should or shall follow, because the point is we are requesting that people use these templates. I'm personally, like, people obviously have to edit them and adjust them as needed. So I'm personally happy to
You could say
include the
something like
suggested
the
format.
suggested format for rules and for agendas is as follows, and the suggested format for minutes is as follows.
So let me rewrite this. We could say suggested committee meeting minutes and suggested committee meeting agendas are as follows.
Are as follows, or listed below, or described below. Are as follows. Sound good.
Okay.
Yep. Good
All right.
job.
Let me just read this out one last
One
time.
more time.
So Rule 11L right now reads, final and approved minutes of all committee meetings shall be sent to the city clerk for public availability within 3 meetings from the date of the meeting for which the minutes are documented. Suggested committee meeting minutes and meeting agendas are as follows. Do you think we need to include a word saying like template or format, or do we just, is it okay to just say minutes and agendas?
I think it's okay to say minutes and agendas.
So,
But if template is something that makes more sense to you,
I think template, kind of like suggested, to me personally, implies that it's a starting point and it's not the ending point. Because a template indicates that this is a standard, but it needs to be filled out and updated. So
if it has meaning to you, then I'll go along with that.
okay, I'd like to add in template.
Sure.
So suggested committee meeting minutes and meeting agenda templates are as follows.
Yep.
Okay. So
So then I would put it in the rule. Or as below. Did we want to put it at the end of the rules?
I think just
Just
include
put
it in Rule
include it until
11L.
it becomes a page of the rules. Sounds good.
Okay. So that's my motion to add that, to amend Rule 11L as just described.
Good.
With that language.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I do want to go back to the mayor communication, because if we look at Rule 11C, there is a rule that highlights that. And I think that's why Councilor Denham and myself had wanted to put this back in as a standard, because
11C.
11C, which is titled Committee/Mayoral Communications, states all committees shall include mayoral communication as defined in Rule 5G on their agenda. The mayor may attend committee meetings and speak at that designated time only.
At that designated time on that. Sounds good. So do we need it there?
So I think the question is, going back to the meeting agenda template, I read a little bit out of order, which is okay, but
That's okay. I see the conundrum. I
So-
would leave them separate. They're separate items.
yeah, so I think, so I know we have a lot of edits to this poor meeting agenda, but
Or maybe.
I'd like to, I'll make it make sense once I send this off to Mary for next, or when we, I guess, propose this next week. But I'd like to make a motion to edit the meeting agenda template to add in, and I guess, I think it should probably come after public speak, but I don't know if you have any thoughts. I don't think it really indicates in our rules where it needs to go. Let me just double check that. 5G. Yeah, there's no indication as when it needs to happen.
It certainly is movable.
It could also
So
come at
it
the
could-
end. I mean, I don't
I
know.
wouldn't want to put it, I don't want to hold up the mayor from the mayor's schedule.
I
If
agree.
they come to a subcommittee meeting, typically often they're at night, 6 o'clock, 5:30, okay, here we go. get them in, get them out. They can't, I have 3 meetings to go through.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense to have
wait
it at the
through,
beginning.
yeah, to have it at the beginning, I think makes more sense. And if they can stay, I'm sure they'd want to stay for public speak to hear.
So would that be mayoral communications first or approval of minutes first,
Approval of
then
minutes,
mayoral?
mayor communication.
Okay, so I'm going to make another motion to edit the meeting agenda template so that item 2 is no longer public speak, but will be replaced by mayoral communications, bumping everything else down. So public speak will not be item 3 and so on and so forth.
All those in favor?
Aye. Passes. Just write this down. Okay, I think we're done with this.
These 4 minutes. No, I think it'll be helpful.
These 4
I
minutes.
think it'll be helpful for new, for
Yeah, and I think, and that's really the idea, is that especially considering we have so many new counselors coming in, and in the future, that may happen as well too. It's just having it be standardized so it makes sense for everybody, and also for the public to have a better format in terms of just following the minutes.
These are the expectations that we have. Yeah.
Okay. We already talked about the resolution for the housing crisis task force, so we'll hold that
Yep.
as an ongoing business item. So
We only have on our
we circle
agenda
back to the code of conduct.
Code of conduct, which probably is the meatiest, thorniest issue you have before us here. Which was introduced by
Former
Counselor, I should still think of this now, Counselor Brad Riley, former Counselor Brad Riley, who had said we would develop a code of conduct for appointed members of boards and committees and commissions to ensure all public servants in Easthampton, whether elected, employed, or appointed, are upheld to a similarly high ethical and moral standing. Not only does this promote public trust in local government, but also provides the mayor and the city council with a framework for redressing complaints and misconduct. He writes a nice letter to us, which I will leave to the record unless you think you should read it into the record.
So did you want to read it into the record?
Not necessarily. If you've read the letter.
I have read the email communication.
Yeah,
Yes.
His email.
Yes. I don't think it needs to be read into the record.
I think
Did you have a chance to speak with Counselor Riley?
I did speak with
Okay.
Counselor Riley, and we had a nice talk. And it seemed like it was an effort to standardize policy for the community regarding really what is approximately 200 people who represent Easthampton as volunteers, basically, or minimally paid volunteers on the planning board. And it's a small stipend. The board of assessors, there's a small stipend. But basically, these are folks, but they represent the city. And what's their role? Let's say someone goes out into the community and says, well, the planning board's going to do this or doing this, or the ZBA says this, or the board of assessors. Are you speaking for the board of assessors, or are you speaking for yourself as a member of the board of assessors? And so I kind of speaking to the policy of, well, you really should help people to understand that they don't represent the board unless they have a formal vote of the board to represent the board. And the board's opinion on something. There are things like what happens if what's appropriate behavior, what is not appropriate behavior in terms of how they conduct themselves. Are there things like are they aware of the social media policy? Are they aware of IP acceptable use policy? Are they aware of drug and alcohol free workplace, disciplinary process, conflict of interest law, open meeting law, email chains and whether or not their email constitutes a chain and actually an open meeting law violation. All of those things kind of are issues that should be brought to their attention as a kind of a whole training program for being a member. And boards take some responsibility for that, but is there an overarching code of conduct and way of conducting oneself? And yes, you shall be familiar with these things. You shall be, and within so many days, you shall have signed off on understanding the policy. Do we need to bring in the personnel director of the city to see what city employees have for codes of conduct? And did that person have any suggestions for a code of conduct? Or is it as simple as adopting the suggested code of conduct that Councilor Riley has presented? If we're going to do it, I think maybe we have to invite the various chairs of the boards of various boards and say, geez, are there any suggestions you have for codes of conduct? Either formally for us to discuss, or did you want to contact us individually, or not necessarily an open session for any issues that you may have seen over your years of experience here? Because from time to time, it's rare, but there are issues. And that's why I think there is a code of conduct. Otherwise, we'd all get together and just meet.
Yes. And I'm looking at his proposed code of conduct right now. It is very simple. So, I mean, I think that is helpful. It's a one-page.
Which is helpful. And we could leave it at that. And we've addressed it.
It's relatively simple. I do like the idea of inviting input from current chairs, because there could be items that we are not thinking of or aware of that would be helpful to include in a code of conduct. I mean, right now it's basically attendance, be prepared, disclose a conflict of interest, confidentiality, don't, be harassing, use social media. Maybe there's something else that should be included that we haven't thought about. The other thing, which is just a thought as I'm looking at this again, is the accountability section at the end of it. It's interesting because the final line says actions may include warnings, public admonition, or removal from service. Now, with my hat and my role on as appointments committee member, my understanding is that any member who's appointed to a board, committee, or commission that's a mayoral appointment can only be removed by the mayor. And so I actually don't know if we can include this language in this code of conduct, because I think that only the mayor really has the right for a mayoral appointee to warn, admonish, remove, although I'm not sure if a chair, if, for example, it's a regular member, and that if a chair could provide a warning, for example. Public admonition, I don't think that really falls under council's jurisdiction necessarily. Now, as we just talked about earlier, we also do from time to time have city council appointees, and I think that gives us more control. But
that gives us more control. However, I think if we structure the language in the rule and to say the following, it can cover both the mayor. I had a conversation with the mayor, and I suggested to the mayor today that the language could include the mayoral appointments as well, by saying any appointment approved by the city council. So if the mayor makes an appointment and the city council has appointing authority, then we have the authority to write a rule that covers any of those appointees. Anyone who is either appointed through that process or
and was that
go through that process.
Was that in the context of the code of conduct, or was that
within the context of the code of conduct? And that would cover them for the code of conduct as well. So it addresses all boards and committees of the city. We don't detail in the language that was suggested by Councilor Riley who admonishes or who censures or who, but it is subject, the behavior is subject, the person is subject to censure as a result of certain actions.
Yeah.
And I think it's fine not to say that the council has the authority or has the responsibility to censure or to admonish. But it just is one of the possible consequences of behavior that is not following the code of conduct.
Yes, I agree. I'm thinking
I've said a lot
because
there.
no, I agree with what you said. You did say a lot, but it all makes sense. The reason I'm sort of like I'm thinking is because I know that again through my work on the appointments committee, I know that there have been cases where we appoint, whether it's a mayoral appointment or a city council president appointment or whatever it might be, we appoint someone through the appointments process as defined through city council approves. The person then is on these committees. And then, for example, in one case, I know there's a small number of people who just don't show up, or they'll show up once every 9 months or something, or they have never shown up. And that's complicated because there's not a lot that the chair of that committee can do. Because again, sort of the mayor could rescind that appointment, but it feels like a little bit of a gray area. And the reason I'm mentioning that is I think that kind of falls into the same sort of gray area space that we're talking about with this accountability piece. And I don't know if that needs to be outlined in this code of conduct, but I'm wondering if you think that isn't something that we should be looking at separately, whether through rules or through appointments.
So I think we're talking about two separate things here in my mind.
Yeah, so
related.
related.
One is a reappointment question by the appointments committee. Or, a reappointment issue is somebody, maybe they shouldn't be reappointed because they.
Well, it doesn't have to be reappointment.
Whatever.
It could just be generally appointed.
Well, someone's appointed. Well, we don't know whether they're going to show up to a meeting or they're not going to show up. For example, to use the example that you mentioned, you don't know that, okay.
Or it doesn't have to be attendance. It could be bad behavior. It could be any of the things that are outlined in these.
Well, that's a separate matter for appointments to consider. And
I guess that was my question. Is that I know it's not exactly what we're talking about here. Is that something
I'm trying to separate them because I see them as separate issues, and you tell me if you don't see them as separate issues, or if I haven't made the case for their being.
No, and this is where I'm kind of like I'm thinking: is it separate? Is it not? I guess the reason I brought it up to begin with is because if we're talking about a code of conduct and we're outlining expectations, and then we're also outlining possible actions or repercussions, if you will, I wonder if we need to get really specific about it, or if having a more general overview suffices, I think is really what I'm trying to think about here.
So the general specific question, is this general? Do we want to leave it open? Or do we want to leave it defined? In this case, I think there's benefit to leaving it undefined and subject to the interpretation of the whoever would be the enforcing authority.
I think where I'm at right now is I'm okay with leaving it broad as sort of outlined by Councilor Riley. It is something that I'm thinking about, so I may come back to this point, whether it's through appointments or through another amendment proposal in the future. So don't be surprised if it pops
up again, it pops up again.
Which is fine, but I need to noodle on that a little bit more.
In the discussion here, because I don't see us moving on this tonight.
Right, and so that's, so I'm okay with it as is.
We're thinking about and okay.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of of not approving this at the moment and giving maybe a chance for some communications and input from chairs to see if there's anything else with expectations.
Would you extend to the department heads, for example, the Parks Commission, the Director of Recreation, Parks and Recreation? They may have certain issues that they've seen over the years. I would I think there's an
Yeah, I mean-
argument to be made that the senior center director
Right, yes, which I know has had
Might-
their,
might have some input. And I wouldn't want anyone to say, oh, geez, they didn't code of conduct and they didn't let it.
Yeah, no,
Why did anybody ever let us know?
I think it's, again, it's such a lot of these committees are case by case because some have closer ties with
Very much
departments than
case
others,
by
so
case, yes.
I'm okay with, I would be happy to include department heads as part of this
And
communication.
the personnel director, we talked about having that person be consulted or advised,
Our city HR.
apprised, CHR.
I don't think it's,
I could reach
A
out, I
must.
could reach out to them
I think
and ask
it's-
if they're interested.
I think it's a nice to include as a FYI almost, but because these are volunteers and they're not employees, it's a bit of a, they don't, like, for example, if someone were to break this code of conduct, they don't talk to.
They don't
the
talk to
head of
HR, no.
So.
No.
But on the other hand, some committees and boards are comprised of employees of the city. But then again, I think that's already covered a little bit through just their employment. So I mean, I think I think we can keep the personnel director in the loop, but I don't know if it's we
It's a
need input
requirement, sure.
necessarily. So, yeah.
So you'd have no objections to it, but no particular inclination to say this is something that we ought to do.
Yeah.
I hear you. In terms of looking over the policies of other cities and other cities' adoption of codes of conduct and how they handle it for their boards and committees, is that something that we should have a more formalized, okay, well, we'll look up these cities and see what they're doing.
I mean, I don't think it hurts. I'm not off the top of my head aware of anything super specific, but we can certainly take a look. I mean, obviously Northampton, Amherst could be a couple that we take an initial look at. So perhaps what we can do is hold on this code of conduct item for now, with the action items being follow up with the chairs and department heads with a CC to the personnel director. And we can look into other examples from surrounding cities to see if there's anything else that we should be thinking about.
So why don't I take on contacting chairs and department heads?
And I can handle the research.
That would be great. How's it? We got a plan there. Anything else on this subject? Then we have a plan.
I think we're good. Let me just write up a couple quick
Yeah,
notes.
sure.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Do we want to try to schedule that right now, or should we
We
hold?
should certainly consult with Amanda. I was just wondering if anything. I think when we met originally, Thursdays were tough for her, but could very well be good for us.
Yeah, let me pull up my calendars. And so what is your general schedule? Like, what are the best days of the week?
Wednesdays and Thursdays. are
Wednesdays and
the best,
Thursdays?
yeah.
Okay.
Monday's third choice.
So, I mean, depending on timing, I can certainly do Wednesdays. I mean, Thursdays are usually open for me as well. I know they're a little tough for Amanda sometimes. So if we wanted to tentatively, so next week is city council. I don't know if we want to try to meet next week or not. But then just so you know, the following week, I'm in California.
Oh, good.
But you and Councilor Newton are more than welcome to meet with them.
I think it'd be good to have the three of us if we can get together.
So if we wanted to try to squeeze something in next week, my Thursday is open. I could also meet before city council next Wednesday.
Could, how about first week in March? Is it something that you have?
I'm sorry.
First week in March?
Let's see. First week of March. So we do have a city council meeting that first Wednesday. I am open.
Thursday?
Oh, actually, I can't do Thursday.
You can't?
No, I can't, unfortunately. I am free Tuesday. If we look at the second week in March, I am very open on Wednesdays and Thursday that week.
I could do Wednesday. So why don't we try Wednesday?
Should we say 6 p.m. Wednesday?
6 p.m. Wednesday the 11th?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Tentative.
Yeah, we'll confirm that.
We'll confirm that with council.
And I don't think any of our follow-on items are super urgent, so. Okay,
Shall we conclude?
yes. Just,
Sure.
okay, so motion to adjourn.
No one else. Thank you to forget that over here. It's all the way over here.
Sorry, did you make the motion or am I making the motion?
You can.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. All right, meeting adjourned, 6:43.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.